Falling in and out of love, in and out of love with you. Falling in and out of love.
Oh shit, did I fall asleep on that card? Alright, let me look up the result. Fuck! Yes, UFC 304 just took place, and yeah, I think a lot of us are disappointed because I was excited about the card, but wow, like those prelims were hard to get through. Some of the main card was hard to get through. Arguably, the main event was hard to get through. This fight card was so bad that Dana White himself said he is no longer increasing bonuses anymore for pay-per-views.
I'm not doing this again.
Ever.
7 straight fucking decisions. Yeah, the 100,000 was a real big fucking woohoo. Let's get it, boys. Fuck that shit. Never again.
This is a new type of sad for the UFC, man. And I'm going to review the card. I'm going to talk about it, some of the best moments, some of the things that we saw in the press conference, some of the outside drama. I mean, it is so interesting, the outside stuff that has been going on with this card. It is arguably more interesting than the fights that have been going on tonight. But yeah, look, and I'm not your typical UFC hater. There's a lot of people on the internet that just love the shit on the UFC. I always defend it, but I want to break down the card, some of the top moments. Of course, we saw Belal Muhammad defeat Leon Edwards in the main event. A pretty clear-cut decision, and I do have some criticism for Leon and some criticisms from Belal, and I want to break that all down now. We're going to look at some of the results, look at some of the stats, and I'll give you guys my full review, guys. But remember, guys, hit the subscribe button, like, comment, and share, guys. Not to go on too much, but YouTube has been having a problem with my channel, has been copyright claiming a lot of my other videos, which I don't mind. However, the thing about the copyright claims is whenever I get copyright claimed, my views take a massive hit. Like, I always hear people telling me, hey, these videos are not in my recommended, these videos are not my subscriptions, guys, so please hit the notification bell. It helps a lot. And also, you know, just hit the share button, like, and comment, and all that'll help the algorithm share my videos to more people. And yeah, I don't want to keep going on and on about it. Let's look at the card. And as you can see, look, I want to do a little bit differently here. I kind of want to look through a little bit, look at some of the stats. I'm not going to talk about the prelims, guys. I'm mostly going to just talk about the main card and really just the top 3 fights. But I do want to talk about Muhammad Mokaev versus Manel Kape, because this fight was one of the most disappointing fights in the card. Like, I really was upset that this wasn't on the main card. And at the end, I was like, who gives a fuck? But a lot of drama happened with Muhammad Mokaev, and I want to talk about that in a second. Obviously, these two had quite an intense beef throughout the whole week. They were forced to separate from one another. Apparently, Muhammad Mokaev sucker punched Manel Kape, and this whole fight was weird. It was originally on the main card, and then eventually, as we got closer, about last week or so, the card was mysteriously moved to the early prelims, and everybody was speculating why. Is this fight going to get canceled? Guys, I did not think that whatsoever. My first thought and my first gut feeling was that Muhammad Mokaev is getting cut. He has been criticized for having a boring style, and let's face it, most of his fights go like this. He loses the first 2 rounds and then gets a submission at the 3rd round. And look, I actually don't mind Muhammad Mokaev all that much. He causes all these issues. They can't even have a face-off at the weigh-ins, and then we get to the fight, and these two can't even stay in the octagon without Muhammad Mokaev running after Manel Kape before the fight. Like, you guys are literally about to fight in like 5 minutes. Can we hold this up? Like, even Colby and Jorge Masvidal were more behaved. And you would think, all right, this fight is going to be an absolute war. Well, think again, because this fight was terrible. We get to the first round, basically nothing happens. I think you could arguably score from Manel Kape. I think that he definitely had a little bit more volume, but Manel Kape did have a really good flurry at the end of the round that might have stolen it. It was that close. Then you get to round 2. I thought that was Muhammad Mokaev's round. And in this round, in the middle of the round, we see Muhammad Mokaev pull the shorts of Manel Kape. And this isn't even like a secret. He is clearly doing this. Like, we basically saw Manel Kape's cheeks right in front of the octagon, right? Live on ESPN, like, Muhammad Mokaev was going off. And I have to agree with Manel Kape here, right? You guys might say he's coping, but he said this. He says, I definitely won this fight. That pull of the shorts deserved to be removed. The point. 2 fingers in the eye, 3 kicks to the balls, and basically just goes on from there. But yeah, I absolutely agree with the point that there should be a point deducted, right? Like, that was just absolutely ridiculous. That was a blatant foul. That was just like, you know, even the shamelessness of Mokaev afterwards, getting up and kind of boasting about it, like, he deserved a point, let's be honest. And if there was a point, it would have been a draw, and that would have been a totally fine scorecard. And honestly, Manel Kape, he really got done dirty in this whole thing. He got punched, he got sucker punched, and now he fucking lost the fight. And look, I'm not trying to say that Muhammad Mokaev won the fight because of the short grabs, but still, it's just like, you can't have that kind of stuff going on. What's to stop anybody from cheating, you know what I mean? Round 3 was clearly Muhammad Mokaev. And then we get to the press conference, and Dana just eviscerates this guy. I'm gonna play the clip right now.
There's a lot of people who shoot takedowns in this business. You know, a lot of guys that fight with that type of style, but it's a lot more than just that.
But Mokaev is the guy that you'd want to bring back to the UFC because he said his contract is totally done now.
Yeah, he is. He's under contract. He's not under contract anymore.
Okay, but would you be interested in, you know, keeping him around in the fall?
I think the PFL is going to get a great undefeated guy.
Like, Muhammad Mokaev, man, you gotta feel bad for this guy. Look, I know he doesn't deliver the best fights, and the fact that he was cut from the UFC after he just fought, after he just won against Manel, and like I said about the prelim thing, right, it makes sense because they don't want Muhammad Mokaev getting a big win on the main card against Manel Kape, right? That is a huge opportunity, that is a huge spotlight, and they're probably gonna keep Manel, right, I'd assume. So they're like, no, fuck that. If he's gonna beat Manel, let's not risk this. Let's put it on the early prelims, let's put it at the second fight of the night. Eventually they get boosted up a little bit, but they did bury it down deep into the card so that casual fans were not gonna be able to watch it. I thought that was just insane, and I didn't mean to talk so much about it, but it was just one of the most insane stories, I think, of the week, and that's just my opinion. But we're gonna move on, and I want to talk about the big fight between Paddy Pimblett and Bobby Green. Okay, now this was a fight I predicted Paddy Pimblett, and not only did I predict him, as soon as the fight was announced, I bet on Paddy, right? I actually got the line plus 170 or something like that. Paddy, I believe, closed at like minus 125, but I put some 20 bucks down. I was like, yo, let me put like a little bit here. I feel like Paddy's gonna win, and Paddy did win. So honestly, thank you, Paddy. I usually hate on Paddy, but this time was like I was kind of rooting for him, but at the same time rooting for Bobby Green because I want Bobby Green to win. But however, I do want my money, and I do want to flex that I made a good move. But yeah, obviously this fight was super short, right? We saw Paddy Pimblett open up with some good low kicks, and it was very slow on the feet, going low kick for low kick. You know, Bobby Green throwing some as well. But Bobby, I guess, just decided to shoot a takedown, I assume, to try to just mix up the fight. And yeah, wound up getting submitted like about 20 or so seconds later. It was just confusing to me because you would think that Bobby Green's best game plan would be stand on the feet because of the amount of times Paddy is able to get caught. However, I think Paddy did a good job on the feet to not overcommit himself and to wait for Bobby Green to make a mistake like that so he can get a grappling exchange. And Bobby just made it super easy by taking him down. But he was very patient, and I think that helped because usually Bobby Green is good at counters. And yeah, we saw Bobby Green go out cold. Tough sight for Bobby Green because I really do like Bobby Green. I would consider myself a Bobby Green fan, but sometimes you gotta just do business. So Paddy did get it done. Paddy afterwards called out Renato Moicano. I mean, I just don't think that there's so much heat to that fight. Like, I don't think people are clamoring for that fight. I certainly wouldn't mind that being announced, but I wouldn't be surprised if they go with a different option. Maybe if Dan Hooker loses to Mateus Gamrot, maybe then Paddy fights Dan. But I am curious to see what happens with Paddy next. Afterwards, we saw Tom Aspinal and Curtis Blaydes, and this was a very short fight, 1 minute in the first round. I mean, these two performances were the saving grace of the card because I was super hyped after these fights. Obviously, you could see from the stats that there isn't a lot, simply because the fight ended super early, all right? Fight started off like, and honestly barely started off, right? These two were just on the feet. Then all of a sudden, Tom lands a jab and almost a right hand. I believe the right hand missed, but it wound up knocking over Curtis, and then Tom just got on top and started wailing shots, and yeah, Curtis was definitely hurt. I know he wasn't 100% out, but I feel like it was only a matter of time. I don't think it was that early as many people are trying to say it was, but I think the next logical step, and even Dana White has said it himself, he said it at the press conference, he said it at the post-fight press conference, Tom Aspinall versus John Jones. Now, of course, John Jones is going to fight Stipe, most likely in November. So does John retire after that fight? Possibly. Maybe he beats Stipe and then he retires. But if John Jones does stick around, I think this is the fight to make. And as I've said before, I have defended John Jones time and time again and saying, yeah, I thought he was going to beat Cyril Gane. I know now everybody's like, oh, Cyril Gane was easy, but at the time, if you look at my YouTube comment section, I was getting tons of hate for picking John Jones. Everyone was calling me an idiot. Maybe casual fans were picking John Jones, but hardcore MMA fans were mostly going with Cyril Gane. So I don't want to hear this anymore. However, I'm saying here, I think Tom Aspinall beats John Jones. I'm not even trying to be a hater. Like, I'm not your typical John Jones hater. I'm not a fan either, but I'm not a hater. And I'm going to be honest, I think Tom Aspinall beats him. I think he beats him pretty early. Maybe in the first round, maybe in the second round. I don't know. It really depends. And I don't mean to, you know, just shit on John Jones, but at the end of the day, John Jones's weakness has always been the boxing. This is a new weight class. He has one fight in this weight class, and he, you know, lasted around 2 minutes. He's gonna, I guess, have another fight with Stipe, but still, let's be honest, he's a bit older now. Not as old as you would think, but he's still pretty old. But that's a matchup that we're gonna just have to wait for. And lastly, let's talk about something that we don't want to talk about. Leon Edwards versus Belal Muhammad. Obviously, Belal Muhammad did wind up winning this fight via unanimous decision, won either 4-1 or 3-2, depending on how you scored it. I scored a 3-2. But let's get into it, all right? Was the fight great? No, it wasn't great. It was a little bit, honestly, better than I expected, and that says a lot. But yeah, it was a bad fight. I mean, in the first round, it was kind of close, but I thought Belal stole with that second takedown. Round 2 was clearly for Belal. You can't give it any other way. And then round 3, you got to clearly give to Leon as well for just keeping that body triangle. And round 4, I also gave to Belal just because of all the control. But round 5 was going Belal throughout the whole thing until like the last 20 seconds where Leon Edwards rained elbows, vicious elbows that really opened up the face of Belal. Like, those are big elbows that I thought even stole the round. So my question for Leon is, where was this energy throughout the whole fight? Like, there were times where Leon was on top and we saw him really try to do nothing. If he had those elbows and that ground and pound, he should have tried to use it more. Maybe that's something he'll learn and something that maybe he didn't even realize he had until now. But those are vicious elbows, and I think he should definitely implement them a little bit more in the next fight. Whether that be a Belal rematch, whether that be another fight that we're going to talk about. But who is next for the welterweight picture? As I talked about, Leon Edwards did kind of say he wanted an immediate rematch. I'm laughing because I don't think that'll ever happen. Like, this fight was bad. Don't think anybody's clamoring to see this fight again. I think if anything, Belal fights another guy, and then maybe Leon gets another title shot, but even then, I think Leon will probably have to fight another guy. I highly doubt they're just going to give Leon a title shot. I mean, think about how hard he had to get a title shot against Usman. So the question is, who is next for each guy? Well, Dana did hint that there is a plan with Belal, right? That there is a plan for the welterweight title picture. What is that plan? We don't exactly know. However, judging off of what he's saying, judging from the fact that he's like, hey, we have a plan, and also knowing the fact that they probably don't want Belal as champion, my guess is they're going to go with Shavkat. I think they're just going to go with Shavkat's undefeated. I wouldn't be surprised if they book this, you know, throughout the next few months, make Belal come back pretty quickly against an undefeated young guy, and hope Shavkat takes care of him. But there's no promise that Shavkat takes care of him. I probably would pick Shavkat if I'm going to be honest, just off the top of my head, but seriously, I mean, if Belal could put that kind of pressure on Shavkat, what is that going to do for Shavkat, a guy that is so young in his career? I think they're going to try to get Belal beat. I think they're going to try to get him beat by Shavkat, an undefeated guy. He's definitely, I think, a lot more marketable for the UFC than Belal. And look, I don't think Belal deserves a lot of the hate he gets. I've defended him before. I even said in the last video, I said, look, he's a guy that takes fights on short notice. He's a guy that has really worked for this title shot. And let's be honest, has gotten bullied by us MMA fans for like years. So let's put some respect on this guy. Even though he didn't put up the best fight tonight, I still respect him, and I am curious to see where he goes from now, if this is just a one-off performance or how good he's going to be in the future. Was Leon off? We're gonna have to find all that out later. And I want to give a credit to the MMA reporter that suggested to Dana White that Ian Gary versus Leon Edwards should happen next, and I 100,000% agree. It's a good fight. Both guys have had kind of beef before, with Leon allegedly knocking out Ian Gary in training and that being a whole thing last year. Now that they're both contenders, that fight could easily happen, and that would be a big fight for Ian Gary to potentially get on top. But only time will tell, guys. Let me know in the comment section below what you guys thought about the fights tonight. Check out my last video where I talked about the UFC Noche announcement and a little bit of my disappointment about it. Also, check out my video where I talked about KSI's fight being canceled, and I made this video a little bit ago, but now KSI's fight is now like officially canceled pretty much, so go check that out if you guys are interested in that. Thank you guys for watching. You guys are the best fan base in MMA. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, and I'll see you guys in the next one.